Yeah. Hello, movie fans. We saw the new movie Joker starring Joaquin Phoenix. We're going to give you our reviews and let you know if we think it's worth seeing and whether or not we think you should bring your children to come see this movie, which is no. If you're new to the channel, we are the movie family. We do movie reviews, reactions, and sometimes do movie-related games. Please click subscribe if you find any of our reviews useful or interesting. We'd love to have you come back and see more. So we saw the movie The Joker, or movie just called Joker.
Yeah, just Joker.
Which I keep wanting to say The Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix. It's the R-rated movie by Todd Phillips, I believe, is the director. It's been out for about a week or so, and it's gotten a lot of different controversial reviews, discussions about, is this appropriate? Is it, both is it a good movie? Is it an appropriate movie? What's the messages of this movie? So we're going to provide our non-spoiler review, our thoughts to begin with, and then at the end of this video, we will do our spoilery discussion, providing some of the points about the movie. So let's start with our non-spoiler general thoughts about the movie Joker. What were your thoughts, good and bad?
Joaquin Phoenix was amazing. He was brilliant in this movie.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
it was well done. It was dark. Let me put about Joker.
DC movie.
Yeah,
it was good, but it feels weird to say you enjoyed the movie.
Right. Yeah, it's like...
I mean, he did, but...
Yeah, I don't feel weird saying it.
I mean, I think it's strange to say you enjoyed a movie like you enjoyed a movie about, again, killing and murderers, and, it's a strange movie to say you enjoyed it. I think it's a good movie. I think it's entertaining, but it's not necessarily enjoyable. To me, it wasn't enjoyable to me. Why did you find it
I think it was enjoyable. I don't know. I mean, I think Joaquin Phoenix's performance was brilliant in every scene that he was in. Like, just all the time, it was fantastic. He was perfect for the role, and I think he deserves to win an Oscar for Best Actor. Absolutely. I think he should win, because I haven't seen any performance this year that comes anywhere near that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else could
even over Robert Downey Jr.
Even over Robert Downey Jr.
Oh wow!
I don't think anyone else could have done
no one else could
that as well as he.
Yeah, that's part of what makes it. He's so good at it. It's such a realistic portrayal of the of somebody who's just he falls into this kind of more and more of this kind of psychological malaise of just that the society and everything else around him, he becomes numb to it and becomes essentially what you would think of potentially like a realistic psychotic killer, sociopath would be, which I think is what's disturbing about the movie, because it's not really like a comic book movie. They're basing it off of the iconic Joker character.
Yeah, you had said once that it was almost more like watching a documentary about a mentally ill person's spiral out of control.
Yeah, like if you could watch the movie of if you had a backstory of like John Wayne Gacy or some other like actual real life killer, and they're like, we're gonna do a documentary on his life, and you could watch him like from his point of view and see what happens to him and why he becomes that killer, why it's interesting and well done, but it's also disturbing that way, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is part of the mastery of this film, is that you can look at it and think, this feels like a documentary. This doesn't feel like something that
it doesn't feel like entertainment, though. That's what
I think. It feels like entertainment. I think it is such a refreshing take on the comic book genre, because in a sense, the whole like comic book movie genre has become sort of homogenized in like the last decade or so. Since the MCU started, they've all started to feel like more or less the same, and this is such a different take on it that it's very impressive. This is my favorite DC movie. Because it's just so.
But it's so
good.
Loosely. I mean, it's connected. If you didn't call it the Joker, and you named the the other characters or Joker, and you name the other characters that are related to the whole comic book, and there's a couple different other characters that are loosely incorporated in there. If you just name them something else, I think it would be a completely different movie. I don't necessarily know. I think it would be as well shot and the story would be interesting, but it's not a comic book movie.
If it wasn't in Gotham and the Wayne family,
right? Like
exactly,
if you don't have
it's
that,
still in the comic book movie genre. I think my least favorite part of this movie was its tie-in to the comic book stuff, to the DC universe. That was my least favorite part of it, because I felt like it didn't need to be there, but they had to put it there because it was about Joker, and I guess it's good that they did. I want to see a second one, but I mean
that's a good question.
Not necessarily.
Would you want to see a sequel?
Not necessarily a sequel. I want to see a new DC universe started off of this.
Well, now they talked about doing like a black label, basically a black label DC universe that would be like Dark Universe that they would say but they would be standalone. Maybe they wouldn't necessarily all tie in. It would be similar to this one where it's like we're gonna do different stories and they'll be darker and grittier and rated R, but it would be it wouldn't necessarily be like Joker is gonna now interact with Penguin in his own movie. Like it's gonna be like a Penguin movie and there'll be completely different times, genres, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Because I don't think that Marvel could do anything like that, which is totally fine.
They've set it up differently, and so that's what would make DC different.
Yeah,
I think it is good. I think it would be cool. I like the character enough that I'd like to see it again, but I don't think it's made to be that. I think it's not made to be a sequel.
It's not.
It's just its own one-off.
Yeah,
which I think it should remain. And they should do, like you said, for other characters potentially do the same thing.
Well, no, I think they should have the Joker come in, like I said, start a new universe, because I want to see the character again really bad, and I would want to see the individual stuff again, but I feel like what they should do is when they do the new, like, Robert Pattinson Batman or something, then have Joker be there.
Yeah.
And not do his own standalone sequel, because he couldn't have his own movie again.
Right. But I wouldn't want to incorporate that same Joker into the new universe. That's the thing. Like, I don't think it needs to be tied in like all the different Marvel movies are. I think it's like, just do their different things, their different movies all the time. But anyways, would you like to see a sequel?
I don't know. I don't have any idea what that would look like. Something that I would be interested in.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say off of this movie what would a sequel look like, because they do it in a different way. So what would you... Let's address the question of whether or not you should bring... what age of appropriate people should you bring to this movie? I think it's definitely up to the individual, but it is a more adult, serious movie. It's rated R, but even differently than like movies like Deadpool or where they kind of like realize violence.
It's still comic book violence, and this one is not.
This one's not comic book violence, and even when there is violence, and there's probably less violence in this one than some of the other ones. The other movies like we're talking about, but that's very realistic, serious. In the whole story about this guy, again, it's like watching the life of a serial killer. It's not really a movie. It's not a comic book movie in the sense of like, let's bring the kids and watch this comic book movie. There's no good guy in it. There's nobody that's going to come and save the day. There's no superhero. There's just really a super villain, if you want to say that, but you don't get any of that other stuff where it's like, let's battle the superhero and the supervillain.
It's not like in comic book movies where you see like, oh yeah, some guy just got shot in the face. Oh, that's bad. It's like you see it in this movie and you're like, some guy just got shot in the face. Like it lands and it feels like real.
It's heavy.
It lands. It hits with an impact. It hits hard.
It's supposed to be like it's real, and I think again. So I don't think kids would even like this movie. I would recommend that again. Maybe teenagers. If you think your teenager can handle it, clearly we thought Tommy can handle it. But
Ryan's upset that we won't let him see it.
But we're not. Yeah, we're not letting our younger children that are in middle school go see it. because we just don't think they would enjoy it, and we don't think that it'd be really appropriate for them, and they wouldn't be able to understand the concepts. So I would say that would be the opinion on whether or not you should bring, children to come to it, or even people that would be ultra sensitive to, some discussions around mental illness and violence and things like that. It's probably not a great movie. If that would be triggers for them. So what would you rate this movie?
I don't know. I have a really hard time rating it because I think it was really well done, but I'm kind of getting stuck on the entertainment part. For me, I don't know that it's rewatchable. And for me to say something is really good, that I enjoyed it, I mean, there has to be parts of it that I enjoy watching.
Right.
And while this was expertly done and brilliantly acted, I don't think it was something that I enjoyed. So I'm having a really hard time rating it.
Okay. I would give... I understand where you're coming from. I guess I think it's well acted. It's a good story. It's beautifully shot. The cinematography is great. I think it's a tough movie, like you said, to rewatch. I would give it probably like a 4.5 or so.
I think it's at least a 4, but
I think it's a really good, yeah, exactly. But over that, I'd be like 4.5. But again, I think it's a good movie. But I'm not sure I would just be like it's an amazing movie. What about
I give
you?
it 5 stars.
He thinks it's an amazing.
I think it's an amazing movie. Yeah, I think this movie, everything about it is great. The cinematography, acting, it's tonally consistent. The editing is great. The music is another thing we didn't talk about. The music is amazing in this movie. How it's a little bit unsettling and creepy at the beginning, and then as the character of the Joker progresses and becomes the Joker throughout the movie, it builds. And it so that by the end of the movie, the music has built and it's so loud and overwhelming, and it's just grand.
They build the intensity a lot in the movie, and they're the music does do that. It's a super intense movie, and the music helps do that. Though we can talk about this in the spoiler part. I think that there was one part that pulled me out of the movie, and I didn't really get it. But that's our non-spoiler part of the review. Now, spoiler warning. We're going to start talking about the things that we liked about the movie, but talk about it in terms of the spoilers and potentially explain the ending as well.
Maybe.
But if we can actually explain the ending. So stop now if you don't want to know any spoilers. All right. For those who do want to know spoilers, I think, so the biggest thing is the ending of the movie. There's lots of spoilers, obviously, that we can talk about, but the ending of the movie, is this real or is this not real? Is he always in the actual insane asylum? Is he in Arkham the entire time? And he's just kind of recounting this in his mind and thinking of what it would be like if this all had happened to him, because, he's got this grandiose idea. What do they call it? The narcissistic, some kind of psychosis, which is more about narcissism. Yeah. And so, again, was he dreaming all of this? I choose to say that it was not a fantasy. It was actually mostly real. Clearly, parts they showed throughout that where he was with his the girl he liked, and that supposedly was the girlfriend. And they showed later that, he was talking to himself, that was not the girlfriend. And that we don't know if he killed her or not in the end, which I also thought was really cool. Because they didn't tell you. Well, not that he killed her, but you didn't tell you. They didn't give you they just left it up to your imagination what had happened, which could be awful.
Feed you everything.
Yeah,
I feel like if it weren't tied into the DC universe, if we didn't already know the character of the Joker, I would be more likely to think that he was just imagining all of it. But because we know the character of Joker, I tend to think that most of it
was probably because you would think that he would do all those things, and that would make sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I think you can see it both ways. I think that's kind of the beauty of that ending, is that you can probably read it both ways. I don't know if the director said which way. I'm guessing. I'm guessing he's probably one of
or something.
I'm guessing he's probably said either way. It's left up to interpretation. But I don't know. You think it's well?
I don't know anymore. I came out of the theater convinced that it was all fake, and then I just kept thinking about it a little bit more. And there are signs that I think are more subtle that definitely point towards it being all in his head. And then there are things that are just like, it can't all be in his head. Like, it has to be real.
I feel like maybe it's parts of it are real and parts of it are embellished, and he's retelling the story, and it's actually somewhat real and somewhat fake. But I love that part of the movie. I love that it gives you that kind of twist ending that does seem very Joker-ish. And the way he acted, and the way, like, at the last third of the movie, when he really, after he kills the guys on the subway, and he's clearly decided that he enjoys, or at least doesn't mind, killing people that he doesn't like.
That was like the second act.
Right, so like mid part of the movie or so. I think that's when he becomes the Joker.
It is.
But then he doesn't really he doesn't fully don the makeup and look like the Joker until he goes at the end, like when he goes on the talk show and stuff. I'm just saying, I think that whole sequence, since when he from killing those guys to then the kind of end, is really they do a good job. I really buy as that could be the origin story of the Joker. Like, it does a good job. It does a good job explaining what I could see as later on. Not that they're going to do this, but become the foil, for Spider-Man. For Batman. That could be a truly, like, kind of this guy that's kind of a insane, but he is just nihilistic, like he doesn't care about anything, and so he just wants chaos, and he's happy with it, whatever he does. No, I think I like that. I like the Bruce Wayne stuff. I think could have, like you said, could have done without. But they have the Bruce Wayne things and the discussions in there.
That was like, I don't know. I thought that it was like when he goes to like the Wayne Manor or whatever,
right?
And then he's like talking to Bruce Wayne. I thought that it was a good scene, but I just didn't feel like it needed to be there. Like, I know that it needed sort of to be there, but I just don't feel. I feel like they could have done it a different way, where we didn't need little Bruce Wayne in there. I thought Thomas Wayne's inclusion was perfectly necessary. I liked that he was in there, so that was good. But we just didn't need Bruce Wayne.
Oh, you totally didn't need Bruce Wayne. And he didn't need the whole part where they kill Bruce's parents in the alleyway out of the theater. Really unnecessary. I think it was like, oh, we're going to recreate this scene that we've done in so many times in the other movies.
Like 5 times before.
And it's like, yeah, we get it. Like, and again, those people who don't really know Joker probably aren't going to go see this movie. So why are we doing a whole thing about this side stuff? They could have named that any other Wayne character, like that. It could have been like, billionaire Bob, whatever. You know what I mean? It's not the Waynes did not need to be there in order for it to be a big deal. They were trying to make it into something where it's like maybe he's actually the illegitimate son of Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne, hang on.
Thomas Wayne, the illegitimate son of Thomas Wayne. Yeah, but I think that they don't. I think it makes it for an interesting plot point, but then they kind of throw it away.
Yeah.
And so, like, okay, then that wasn't really necessary.
I don't know if they throw it away. I think it leads... That's probably is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, is when he, like, finds out that... Like, he finds out that he was adopted. Yeah, that his mom was, like, lying and stuff. I actually like that.
But I think that's the question, too. Like, was his mom lying? Was it, like, was
she mentally ill, or was Thomas Wayne
just another one of those questions.
Was super evil, like, and he, like, when he found out that she was pregnant, like, basically used his money to make her look insane and make up all this other stuff about her, and so that basically drove her insane. And so, I think that's kind of placing that, the idea that that Thomas Wayne could have been actually a bad guy or not a good person. It could be the evil rich people. And they kind of try to set up the whole rich versus poor. And I think that was, again, they did a decent job in doing that. I don't think it was perfect. The messages were left kind of vague in some ways. And so I think a lot of people are interpreting them a lot of ways. maybe that was the point, but I think it wasn't exactly clear of like what message are you supposed to get from this movie.
Exactly. I'm having trouble figuring out what the theme of this movie, or like what the message or the theme of this movie really was.
Right.
Like I feel like there's not something.
Is that
clear.
the point?
Well, see,
maybe,
but then that seems like a. It seems like a cop out to me. Like if you're like, well, that's the point. There is no message. Like,
yeah.
Okay, well,
Genius
is that really
writing.
true, or right?
Yeah.
Genius writing, or just like you just didn't know what to do and you kind of lost your way somewhere in there.
Is it genius writing or is it lazy writing? That's the big question.
Right, and I think you can read into it what you want to read into it. Again, I think it was a good movie. I like the way that the story went. I think if you're trying to read into this larger plot of society and stuff like that, it's a little bit difficult. You can do it. It's just a little bit difficult to see if there was actually supposed to be, a rich versus poor. I know people are talking about it being like, oh, this is a, commentary on social commentary on today and the mobocracy and the people that are, following these other, the people who follow Joker are like taking his actions and turning them into their own cause, or he actually doesn't care and he's not, he doesn't try to be a figurehead. People turn him into a figurehead for other things, and like, okay, I guess I can see that. I just don't. I don't know if that was the point.
It made me think. I kept thinking about a movie that I actually never saw, but a movie called Falling Down.
Yeah, I've heard lots of comparisons to the Falling Down.
Yeah, which I think was Michael
Douglas.
Yeah, where just what pushed this one man over the edge.
Right, and I've heard that's right.
Yeah,
it's like,
even though I never saw it, that's what I kept thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Which I've seen that movie a long time ago, and it's a decent movie. I think some of the problem with that is a similar idea, which is like, are you kind of...
Are you saying it's okay?
Yeah, exactly. Are you saying it's okay because society pushed this guy to this way, and now he can go around and falling down, going around randomly killing people on a highway, which is essentially that movie's premise, or... And in the case of Joker, is it like because society failed him, now he's allowed to and should be sympathized with? I don't think they go that far, but I think that's some concern that people have, that they're making him a sympathetic character. I think they don't quite do that, because he doesn't. I don't necessarily. A couple times he kind of says that society failed me, but I don't think he. In the end of the day, I think it's not about that for him. I think it's just about the fact that he's fully just given over to his dark side, and he's just like, I'm okay with it. I
guess that's part of why I'm having trouble reading it, because the troubling aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's going to be a love it or hate it kind of movie, where you're going to say, this is really good cinema, I like it, enjoy it, or you're going to be like, yeah, I don't think this is... And again, you could still like it and not be able to rate it, but just... Or people will say, this is something we don't want people to be able to watch.
There's a very specific group of people I would recommend it to that would enjoy it.
Yeah.
Not general, all of my friends.
You're just like a casual moviegoer, and you're just like, yeah, I'll go see it.
Yeah.
I'll go see a fun movie. I'll go out on a date, watch movies.
It's not a date movie.
Don't do that.
It's not a date movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies. I also compared it a little bit to, this may sound odd, but Schindler's List. Schindler's List is a great movie. But when are you like, hey, I feel like watching Schindler's List tonight?
Right, yeah. You should see it because it's interesting and it's a good movie, but it's not something you want to... You just always feel like, oh, I feel like up for watching that movie because of the content.
Because it's not enjoyable.
It's one of those kind of movies. It's a very polarizing film.
Yeah, but even in Ad Astra, you've got like a message that's going on and just a sci-fi. Like this one just... I think because it will polarize people for sure. I think this one is more of like that content and the story of it is disturbing. I think disturbing is the best way to put it. Yeah. And disturbing can still be entertaining or a good movie to watch, but not necessarily something that you want to just sit down on a Saturday night and be like, let's check this out.
Yeah.
So, again, for those who I think are interested in seeing a good movie and a really great actor and well shot movie, then I would go see this movie. But if you're, looking just for fun entertainment, this is not a fun movie.
Yeah, it's not fun and light at all.
Yeah, no, it's no like Shazam. It's nothing like any of the DC movies that came before it, really.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
in
That's why
recent
it's
ones
like
it
putting
came
in a DC. It really is its own little DC. You know.
Bubble.
Yeah.
All right. So two things I had wanted to say. One, you mentioned the music, and you said that something took you out of.
Right.
Yeah, what was that?
So right after he kills the two guys that are the clowns in his apartment, right, and then he's killed this one guy. I guess he lets the other guy go, but he killed the one guy. And
That's
then
one of the tensest moments in
right,
the movie.
yeah.
Right, and he let the other
The Bring in the Clowns, is that what...
No, because the Bringing the Clowns seemed almost too on the nose. It was it's the song they play when they have basketball games. They're like, hey, and he's dancing down the stairs, and he's like, it's like do like, yeah, hey, yeah. It was weird. For me, I was like, everything else seemed like it was kind of it went with the moment, and I guess that was supposed to be like, hey, he's in full costume. This is him coming out. He's really happy that he's now become the Joker, and he's off to go to the interview, and this is like his big moment kind of thing. And then it kind of devolves quickly because he sees the cops and he starts running away. But there's a good 20 seconds of him dancing on the stairs, and a montage of him jumping back and forth and stuff like that, and smoking, which I think is supposed to be again kind of the Joker part of it. And that I could see Joker doing that, but to me, the rest of the movie didn't really fit with that, and that music totally seemed weird. Again, I'm not even sure. Maybe it was from the early 80s. The movie's set in the early 80s, and I was like, this does not seem like this song came from the early 80s, though. I remember this. I think of it as basketball game music, where people are coming out and just making shots and doing slam dunks. It just was a really strange song for me, and maybe other people thought it was good, but that I did not like.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
And the other thing I wanted to say was, after we watched it, then Tommy watched an interview with Jimmy Fallon, Joaquin Phoenix.
Jimmy Fallon, Joaquin Phoenix, and I must say it was a little bit unsettling to see Joaquin Phoenix on a talk show with Jimmy Fallon.
Because you totally thought that he might...
I totally expected him to pull out a gun and shoot Jimmy Fallon in the head. And honestly, I was a little bit just unsettled by Joaquin Phoenix's presence.
Yeah.
Because he's strange, but the thing is, I didn't notice anything in those interviews about him being strange. He just seemed like kind of a normal person to me. But the thing was that his performance in Joker was so good that just seeing him...
You believe he was still
unreflected?
Yeah, seeing him and hearing his voice made me unsettled, even out of the context of the movie, which is just a testament to his fantastic acting in this film.
But I wonder if Jimmy Fallon had seen the movie before. But if he had seen the movie before, then I think you would have been a little bit more disturbed. If I was the host, I'd be like, I would said something about it. Be like, I'm a little nervous.
I'm just gonna make sure that we're separated by this bulletproof glass.
Right, or I'm not. I don't want to tick you off.
Yeah.
Because again, that was a super disturbing part of the movie.
A very tense part of the movie.
Yeah, very tense. You're like, oh, when's it gonna happen?
Yeah, what's he gonna do here?
Yeah. Okay, so the last minute of our review got cut off, but that is our non-spoiler and spoiler review of Joker. If you plan to go see it, please leave your comments below. If you've already seen it, also please leave your comments below, but mark them spoiler. We'd love to chat back and forth with you about what you thought about the movie. And if you want to also check out our other videos, we'll have them linked up here or at the end. We do some movie reviews, some other reactions, things like that you might find useful. And if you do, please hit like and subscribe. All right, thanks. See you next time. Bye.